Hello, I'm Tripwire, and you are watching my slow play of Dark Souls 1. Welcome back. This is part 2. We are finally going to leave the asylum, aka the tutorial, today. So through this fog gate is the first boss you're going to have to fight. It's the one that dropped down and tried to spook us earlier. And I'm going to show you a neat little trick that will allow you to defeat this boss a little bit easier, because if you know anything about these games, you'll know that dodge rolling is very important. You have a certain number of invincibility frames on a dodge roll where your character will not get hit by an attack, and dodge rolling at the right time is very important. And it's very stressful as a new player to learn the right timing on dodges and enemy attacks and movesets in the moment. And this boss could be the first wall that people come up against. They might not even get off the tutorial. But there is a nice little trick that's useful in other parts of the game as well that I can show you that'll make it significantly easier. And so it's what's called a plunging attack. If you're falling off of any object and it's high enough, you can press right bumper. I didn't just display it right there. I wasn't high up enough, but you can press right bumper and you'll do a plunging attack. But I don't know if this is intended or not, but what you can do is you can combine the plunging attack with a jumping attack, and it'll do even more damage. So if you do forward on your control stick and L2/right trigger at the same time, you'll do a jumping attack. And if you jumping attack off of a cliff and then press right bumper, it's like a combination jumping plunging attack, and that can be used to really weaken this boss before you actually get down to the ground, because you might remember that we're kind of high up above where we were before, and the asylum demon is right there waiting for us. So what I like to do, target him with the right stick, jumping attack, and then bumper, and see we hit him and then took off a huge amount of his health afterwards. Now comes the part where you don't want to get hit by his attacks. So this one, he just flies up in the air and slams his butt down. Don't want to get hit by that shockwave. Stay behind him. That's going to hit in front of him. I don't know why he did that even. I want to show up another one of his attacks. That one, I actually had no stamina to dodge with. That was dumb. But a lot of bosses do a pretty good job telegraphing their attacks. It's just a matter of learning when the impact is going to hit. But I mean, you basically only have to take out half this guy's health if you do the jumping plunging attack. You know, it's really not that bad. Just gonna swing around. Go ahead and fireball his ass. Goodbye. Also, if you do select when you're not in the menu, gives us the big pilgrim's key that just gets us out this door. If you do select, you get the gestures menu. And he dropped a humanity. Every boss you kill is gonna also drop you a humanity, which is a consumable that will give you 1 humanity. Here we go. So anyway, as I said, I'm going to be recording this in bulk before I do anything with it, so good job, go straight ahead. Thanks, developers. So I'm not going to be able to take feedback into account, but I hope you're enjoying it so far. So it says go straight ahead, but if you take your first left and head down the slope and around the corner, you get an item. Soul of a Lost Undead. Soul of a Lost Undead. Used to acquire souls. So it's a consumable soul item. If I choose to use it, it's going to give me a certain number of souls based on what type of soul it is. The Lost Undead is a very small soul. It's probably going to only give me a couple hundred. And then humanity, gain 1 humanity, and it also can be used in a pinch to restore your HP. The dark sign is something we always have. You start with it because the dark sign brands the undead, and if you'll remember, the dark sign is part of my tattoo because it's a very important symbol in these games. But you can use this also in a pinch, lose humanity and souls, return to bonfire. So basically, you're like, fuck this, I'm out of here, I need to teleport to safety. You're going to sacrifice your currency that's on you at the time, but you can go back to a bonfire. The most recent one you rested at. The black separation crystal is used to banish a phantom. We'll get into that later. It's not really relevant at the moment. Oh god, I had something else I wanted to talk about. Oh no, what was it? Oh, right. What I was going to say was, so the lore of this world and these games, all the FromSoft games, is super, super deep, super, super detailed. You know, very sad, depressing, dark world, and it's great. But that's all been figured out by the community over the course of years. The way that the director of these games and the company in general likes to tell their story is very subtly, and by not giving a lot of information and by letting players figure stuff out. So a big way to kind of get your bearings in this game and learn more about the world and learn about what items are good and what ones aren't is to read item descriptions. It's really important that you are okay doing this, because that's where you're going to glean a lot of your information from, especially if you're going the route where you're not going to be watching tutorial videos or reading the wiki. The information coming from the items themselves is important. So, like the hand axe itself, probably won't be super interesting, but on the bottom here it says toggle display. For the weapon, it's going to toggle it first to the stats screen, but then again to the description. So, small hand axe appears identical to a lumberjack's tool, but has an ideal weight and strength and is easy to handle. So yeah, it's not super important, but every single item has a description like this. So if we were to go to the pyromancy flame, right? There's the stats. Flame medium used by Great Swamp pyromancers. Pyromancers arouse this flame to produce various fire arts. Equip Pyromancer Flame to produce Pyromancy. Attune Pyromancy from a scroll at Bonfire. Most have limited number of uses. So the way you're going to get useful information in-game, and a lot of storytelling elements that you'll kind of piece together over time, is from item descriptions. Now let us leave this place and go to Lordran proper.
Only in the ancient legends it is stated that one day an undead shall be chosen. To leave the undead asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
So it's kind of funny that now the voiceover mentions the tradition of making pilgrimage from the asylum to Lordran. Oscar's like, oh, it was a saying in my family. But now the announcer lady, or the voiceover lady, is saying it, so it must be more common than just his family. Wow, I always skip the cutscenes. You can skip the cutscenes all you want. Like, they don't restrict that. So in Lordran, level up and kindle up bonfires. You actually weren't allowed to level up before leaving the tutorial zone, which is why it's saying that. I never noticed it before, but in that cutscene where the crow drops you at the fire, it shows you the path. We turn. This is what we were just seeing when we got dropped off, right? That's actually the way you're supposed to go at the beginning of the game. That's the correct path. There are other locations you can go to, but we're not the right level for them. It's not the right point in the game for them. We'll get our ass handed to us if we fight the enemies in them. Up that path right there is the way to go. And it's embarrassing, but when I was playing this for the first time, I tried every other fucking path first because I didn't notice this path behind me, which is dumb. So we see a treasure right here. Let's pick that up. It's 3 humanity. That'll be useful. We've also got an NPC right here who seems to be friendly. And we've got our bonfire. So attune magic does nothing because we've only got one thing that we can use. It's fireball. It's already attuned. We can level up. So here, what I was talking about before, you'll see souls and required souls. So any stat I level up requires 673 souls. It doesn't matter which one, doesn't matter what level it is right now. And if I were to, so let's say I wanted to level up dexterity. So that shows me a preview of what will change, and then how much the next level up will require, as well as how many souls I'd have left over. So it goes from 673 to 690. It's going to go up on a curve, so eventually things will get really, really expensive. That's why you need to think about what you want out of the build, what you want to level up, because every level, the next level is going to cost more, and it doesn't matter what you're leveling up or where it started from. So I will just say that as a first-time player, I would recommend doing a combination of strength and dexterity, because that'll allow you to wield a good variety of weapons. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I bumped my mouse and the cursor appeared. Like a quality build is kind of a safe bet. That's the way I play all these games for the first time. That's how I did all my first playthroughs. So we've already got decent strength. So Dex is lacking, we'll bump that up 1. And then Endurance determines how much stamina you have. Stamina is very important. And then let's do Vitality, because, you know, who couldn't use more HP? So now you'll see we're level 4. Every single individual stat increase increases your soul level or overall level by 1. So the Pyromancer starts at soul level 1. We are now soul level 4 because I just increased 3 different stats. Pretty simple. So the other options here are, again, like the game doesn't really come out and explain stuff. This is just stuff you learn. For a long time, I didn't know what these did, even though I was playing. Reversed hollowing means returning to human form. And we can do that with our humanity. It costs humanity to do that. So I'll consume 2 humanity, let's say. Actually, no. We can't kindle here anyway, yeah, so we'll just do the 1. So now in the upper left, you'll see the number has changed from 00 to 01. That's the number of humanities we have within us. So these are the consumable items. The ones that are in us right now are referred to as soft humanities. Now I can reverse hollowing. And we offer the humanity to the bonfire. And now humanity restored. You can see we're no longer all decrepit and undead looking. We look like a human. And the upper left corner, the numbers are glowing white to signify that we are in human form. Certain elements of the gameplay change in human form, but again, information overload, we'll get to that later. Another thing that's really important in these games is to interact with NPCs and pay attention to what they say. I was too impatient my first playthrough to really care. I just kind of skipped all the dialogue, but it's really important. This NPC is called the Crestfallen Warrior, and if you're really paying attention, he gives you a lot of helpful advice about what you should be trying to accomplish early on in the game.
Well, what do we have here? You must be a new arrival. Let me guess. Fate of the undead, right? Well, you're not the first, but there's no salvation here. You'd have done better to rot in the undead asylum.
That's reassuring.
Too late now. Well, since you're here, let me help you out. There are, actually, 2 bells of awakening.
I look so happy.
One is up above in the undead church. The other is far, far below, in the ruins at the base of Blight Town. Ring them both, and something happens. Brilliant, right? Not much to go on, but I have a feeling that won't stop you. So, off you go. It is why you came, isn't it? To this accursed land of the undead?
Alright, thanks Crestfallen. So, was it Oscar? I think it was, I wasn't paying a ton of attention. I think it was Oscar who mentioned that we should make pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords and ring the Bell of Awakening. Right as soon as you get here, Crestfallen Warrior tells you it's not 1 Bell of Awakening, it's 2. And there are indeed 2. After you've rung both Bells of Awakening, you get access to other parts of the game. And so that's pretty much your first goal once you get here, is to locate and ring the Bells of Awakening. If you've played video games before, and especially if you're familiar with how Dark Souls games work, it's not like ringing the Bells of Awakening is going to be that easy. You have to find them, you have to traverse the levels to find them, and if you're a new player, those levels are going to be very harsh, and of course, each of the bells is guarded by a boss fight. Anyway, here we are at Firelink Shrine. This is your... People will think of this probably as their home base bonfire. The first place you come, it's the only place that the only bonfire that has its own music, I think, or one of the only ones. Got the soothing music. And this is also like the first hub that branches off to several different paths. If you notice right around here, there's a staircase that leads down. There are multiple staircases here. There's the path up there, which I told you is the correct path to start out the game, but depending on what kind of build you do, you might not go that way first. You might go somewhere else and grab a specific item. This area full of water is going to become important later on. This chest is open already, and it's for players who manage to glitch important key items out of existence. If you manage to break the game so badly that you no longer have an item you need to progress, it's supposed to appear there as like a backup. And then, so that you can go this way. You can see down a hill, there's a massive cemetery, some treasures down there. and what look like the remains of skeletons. But heading back toward the shrine, if you go through this little archway and around the corner, there's a treasure here as well. Exploration is heavily rewarded and encouraged in Souls games. So we're going to take the other path over here. If you go over here, sorry, not over here, up this next one, you'll get another treasure, which is good. 6 fire bombs. Fire bombs are items you can throw at enemies and deal damage from range. So you can equip stuff next to your Estus. Your Estus automatically goes here, and the next 4 slots are free for whatever you want. Not any type of item can be equipped here, but we're going to equip fire bombs, and then where the Estus is on the bottom, so down on the D-pad, swaps between them. Up this path, we're going to see another NPC. Right, that teaches you how to gesture. Hello, Petrus.
Hello there. I believe we are not acquainted. I am Petrus of Thoroland. Have you business with us? If not, I'd prefer to keep a distance, if possible. Hello there. I realize that I have requested that we retain our distance, but I also want you to know that it is not meant in ill will. Here, take this, as a token of peace. No, go ahead. It's for you.
Copper coin. Thanks so much, Petrus. Love the bowl cut. It's really working for you. So he gave us a copper coin. Copper coin of Old Man MacLeod. Its face shows Old Man MacLeod, god of medicine and drink. Even coins of great value in the world of men have little value in Lordran, where accepted currency is souls. Those who dream of returning to the outside world are fond of carrying these around. So it's possible that the worlds of Lordran and the world of men as we know it coexist in the same universe, but I don't think it's ever really confirmed in any way. So the copper coin doesn't necessarily have any value that we know of currently. And this guy right here, his name is Petrus. Thoroland is a location known for clerics. This guy's a cleric. He is also how you join. This is how you first get access to a covenant, the covenant system.
Oh my, you again. Oh, I know. How about this? I have to await my companions here anyway. So what if I were to teach you some miracles? Would that please you?
If you say yes.
Very well. Then first, a covenant with the gods.
So then you have the prompt to join the covenant. Covenant established. Now I'm part of the Way of White Covenant.
Now let me share my miracles.
And this unlocks...
Their ultimate effectiveness.
Yeah, Petrus. This unlocks him as a vendor. Also, you can learn gestures from... Shrug. From certain NPCs. So he sells these miracles. We're not doing a miracle build, but if you were to be doing a miracle build, if you'd started cleric, this is a good way to get early access to some useful miracles. And even if you're not doing a miracle build or a faith build, some of these are really useful to pick up. Like this one called Heal. I imagine you can guess what this one does. It heals you. And in a game like Dark Souls, healing is very important. And so gamers, people that are struggling with this game, just try getting a little bit of faith and getting a talisman to use miracles, and you can heal and you can regain health, even if you've run out of Estus flasks to use. The other one is Homeward. Homeward acts like an item that's a consumable item that you'll get access to a little bit later in the game called a Homeward Bone, and it just teleports you back to the most recently rested at bonfire without losing your stuff. Homeward lets you do it without using a consumable item at all. So it's just a rechargeable way to return to the last rested at bonfire. Very, very useful, no matter what type of build you're playing. And then he sells talismans. If you pick a cleric starting class, or just class, then you're going to start with a talisman because you need one as a cleric, but you can just buy one from him if you didn't.
Come again. The effectiveness of the teachings depend upon your faith.
Also, if you are thinking to yourself, I don't trust this guy, you're right not to trust this guy. You shouldn't. This guy's kind of an asshole if you follow his character quest line. One of the really cool parts about Dark Souls is that there are a ton of different NPCs you can encounter. And they all kind of have their own stories. And a lot of them become available to you as vendors of certain things. They'll come back to Firelink Shrine and become available to you. But they have interesting interactions and their own quest lines that you can follow if you want to. It's really, really difficult to follow some of them without knowing the triggers for them. And if you're doing it blind, you're going to fuck some of them up and have to do another playthrough. But there are some good ones. I tend not to mess with them. I just kind of talk to the NPCs I know that are going to be useful for me during this exact playthrough. I've done so many playthroughs that I don't want to waste my time. And also, before I forget, I just want to say that me doing this video series was inspired by a YouTuber by the name of Epic Namebro, or ENB, Marcus. Amazing member of the Souls community for a lot of years, from way before I even discovered these games. He actually helped write the official guide for Bloodborne and for Dark Souls 2, I think. He's met Miyazaki, the creative director of Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne. And he's been a big member of the Souls community for a long time. Did a lot of cool videos, did a lot of cool playthroughs. When I was first getting addicted to Dark Souls 1, I watched Epic Namebro's, what he called sometimes referred to as a lore through, where he did a slow play of the game and showed off literally everything he knew about it in one playthrough. So it was gameplay, tips and tricks, story, lore, and all this kind of stuff all rolled into one, and it was just fascinating to me, and he did a great job of it. And he's no longer really proud of his older work, so those videos, they don't have comments turned on anymore. The dislike has been disabled on all of his old... I think he has a new YouTube channel now. I think he kind of moved on. But they're still up there if you want to watch them. I highly recommend you do. And if you are interested in lore stuff, check out the channel Vadi Vidya. He does amazing Souls game lore videos. We get another Soul of Lost Undead up here. And then I'll show you a little shortcut. So the area we want to explore, so right here, you're like, oh, this is a Souls game. If I drop down there, I'm going to die. Not the case. It really looks like they really made it hard to tell that there's a ground down there, not that far away. But you can drop down there to get to a secret area, or you can come up here and jump it, and it'll take you to the same place. Right down there, you can see a chest. So when you're sprinting, by default, if you're sprinting, you press the sprint button again, and it's going to make you do a jump roll. I have it so that no matter when I press B, it's a regular roll, because you can separate them out in the settings, but only in the remaster. If you're playing Dark Souls 1 original version, they're going to be both bound to the same button. But right now, I can regular roll while sprinting with B, and I can jump by clicking on the left stick. It's really nice to have them separate. And so I'm going to jump across here, and I'm going to end up right down here. And right down here is where you'd come out anyway if I had dropped down the little shaft over there. So we've got some chests. Here we have cracked red eye orbs. Those are items that are used for PvP, I believe. Yeah, invade another world. I never messed with PvP, so we're going to ignore that. The Morning Star and the Talisman are the things that Petrus, the guy we just met, is wielding. So we can kind of assume this is his private stash back here. So spending 1,000 souls on a talisman, kind of silly when you know there's a free one right back here. This one contains 6 homeward bones. Very useful item, as I said. We're just going to move those. Teleport you to the last bonfire. And then these items, especially for a new player, not super useful. Lloyd's Talisman prevents... Talisman utilized by Allfather Lloyd's Cleric Knights to hunt down the undead. Blocks Estus recovery within a limited area. This is useful in PvP. If you throw it at an enemy player, it makes it so they can't heal for a while. In the outside world, the undead are accursed creatures, and Lloyd's Cleric Knights are widely praised for their undead hunts. This blessed talisman blocks undead recovery, allowing the knights to fight with impunity. Basically, it just means that the undead they're trying to kill can't heal themselves, so it's easier. And then the only way to escape this little area is to drop down. you're going to be pretty weak against these guys at the beginning of the game, which is an indication that you shouldn't be going this way yet. Yeah, look how little damage I do. It's ridiculous. So we're going to run away. While I'm at it, I'm going to come up here, underneath the giant crow, and around another treasure right over here. Let's grab it on our way back to the bonfire. Whoop. Jump over that little wall. Over this wall. And here we go. Safety. So before we move on and head up the slope back there, there's a couple more treasures I wanted to grab from down here, as well as one other tip I want to show off. So, as you can see, those piles of skeleton bones and equipment become skeletons if you trigger them, and that's dangerous, especially for a new player, or even just a new character. These things are fucking strong. If you do an R2 or a trigger attack instead of a bumper attack, though, they'll temporarily fall apart. Also, see that stance they're in? That's their parry stance. Some enemies can parry you just the way you can parry them. And if you swing into them when they're in the parry stance, they will block your attack and riposte you for big fat damage. Ow. Ow. See, I am almost dead from 2 hits, and also that bar in the middle appears. That's the bleed meter. If that fills up, I'll take extra damage from bleeding. X, by the way, on the Xbox controller, is how you use the bottom item there. So X is how I use the Estus Flask and Healed. Alright, so right trigger, attack, makes him fall apart. You can just do that repeatedly until he's dead if you want to. As a new player, I'd say just don't mess with these guys. That's a backstab animation, though. We got a backstab on him. Oh, don't target the crow. I actually didn't know you could target the crow. That's kind of cool. Hey, bud. There's the big old bird that brought us here. Thanks, man. So, yeah, if you're positioning right, you can backstab a lot of different enemies for increased damage, similar to how the riposte damage works. Got a treasure here, another consumable soul item. I believe this item over here is also a soul item. Of course, these skeletons are going to come to life. Yep. So I have very little stamina, and of course the R2, or heavy attack, or whatever you want to call it, is going to take up more stamina, so you can only do so many of them before it's empty, and then you can no longer dodge or attack until you wait for it to recharge, so gotta be careful. A lot of this game, especially boss encounters, comes down to stamina management. You want to be performing attacks, you know, and getting damage in to progress the fight, but only insofar as you have enough stamina left to dodge an attack should the enemy start winding up an attack that you really need to dodge, because otherwise it's going to fuck your shit up, right? So, if you can help it during tense moments, you don't want to drain your stamina completely. Alright, that one's dead. And dead. Cool. I didn't want to have to run back and reset and run back and reset these enemies. Normally I wouldn't bother fighting them. Another item here. That didn't trigger those skeletons. That's weird. I'm surprised. Also, yeah, the other thing I was going to say is kindling is the other option at the bonfire above reverse hollowing. To kindle means to feed the bonfire with a humanity to increase the number of Estus charges you get when you rest at it. So the default bonfire we're at Firelink Shrine, gives you 10 Estus when you rest at it. You'll notice that when we started the game, we only had 5. But we get 10 Estus at that bonfire because it is a bonfire with a bonfire keeper. I just haven't shown her to you yet. She's below. She makes it so that it's more powerful. You get 10 Estus, but you can kindle other bonfires up to 10 as well if you offer humanity to them and get more heals. Again, it's a mechanic that's not explained. Very useful if you're struggling because you're running out of healing items. This item is guarded by a very large skeleton boy who does not fall apart when you hit him. Oops, I did not mean to fall there. And I triggered that. Okay, well, this is just a bad time now, isn't it? I'm gonna have a bad time. I'm having a bad time already. That does mediocre damage at best. Actually, that one did more damage, you'll see. I did 50, then 83. If you catch the enemy off balance, and they can do this to you too, like if you're in the middle of an attack animation or just finished a dodge roll and you get hit, you're going to take increased damage. But if you catch an enemy in a dodge roll or attack animation, like you saw with that skeleton, you'll deal increased damage too. Just about timing. Nice little backstab. Nice little heavy attack. That time he blocked the heavy attack twice, so he didn't fall apart. There we go. Sorry, this episode's already... Jeez, it's already half an hour long. God damn. Why you guys let me talk so much? Come here. No, sir. Not gonna hit me. Just learning enemy attacks is extremely important. Learning enemy attacks and learning that you don't need to dodge out of everything. You can just kind of walk around some enemies, and learning like how far their attacks reach is super important, because then you can just wait for them to exhaust their attack pattern. Stop blocking. Oh god, I should have shown off the kick. So you know the forward and L2 or trigger is a jumping attack. Forward and... Or I'm sorry, that's R2, not L2. Forward and R1 or right bumper is a kick with most weapons. And that can break an enemy's guard if they're just standing out with their shield up. So if we continue down the slope over here, we've got another item. Hey look, giant skeleton bones. The Zweihander is an amazing strength weapon. It is an ultra great sword, is what it's classified as. And here are the binoculars you get for free, right on the edge of the cliff. Don't choose the binoculars as your starting gift, it's dumb. You can get them for free right there. And I believe I've gotten all the items in this little area now. So we're gonna run away. We don't need to fight those things. The Zweihander is a great weapon. If I get my strength up high enough, I'll show it off at some point. It is a very meme-heavy weapon as well. It used to be huge in the Dark Souls 1 PvP scene. Alright. So, back to relative safety, level up. We're going to level up strength. No. Yes. Strength. Alright, and again, I know the episode's long, I'm sorry. I said I'd show you a trick before the episode ended, so come down here. Here's the firekeeper in the hill right here. She's beneath the fire. No response, she cannot speak. Try to talk, obviously she can't speak. Reinforce Estus Flask. So, Estus Flask down at the bottom, the number to the left of it is how many charges you have of it, but a number will appear to the right of it. It'll say Estus Flask plus and then a number to indicate its upgraded status, and that's how much each individual sip heals. So you come to a bonfire keeper, and you can, if you have the right item, you can reinforce it. And that's what we're gonna go do. We're gonna go get our first firekeeper soul is the item you need to consume, which is kind of fucked up because you're giving a firekeeper soul to a firekeeper in order for them to increase the effectiveness of your Estus. Kind of insulting to them. But anyway, so this area is an area you don't really normally want to fuck with this early in the game. Like, not at all. This area, frankly, is terrible for a new player who doesn't really know how to deal with it. But come down here and you get this little contraption. Step on it and you'll find out that it's an elevator. It's going to take you down into Spooky Town. Although our character looks pretty happy about the whole thing, doesn't he? Mr. Jubilant Katarina. So it takes you down here. Into Spooky Town. So come over here. The staircase. I just like to drop off the left side because there's an item. So you can come on down here, and we are in New Londo Ruins. What remains of New Londo. Ignore these guys. Again, these are just passive hollows. They're not gonna... These guys will fight back, unlike the ones in the asylum. But they are neutral at first, so... So over there is Spookyville. You don't want to mess with that place. It's a place with scary ghosts that you can only damage if you are cursed. They can damage you anytime they want to, though. There's an S-stock right here. So you don't want to mess with this area, and we're not going to mess with it, but what we are going to do is I'm going to show you a little trick to get a really early upgrade for your Estus. If you break that barrel or any similar barrel that's got a corpse in it, they'll fall out and they'll drop you an item, but only once. So this is pretty clever. The transient curse is actually the item you need, or one of the ways you can fight the ghosts. Temporary curse allows engagement with ghosts. The only way to fight back against ghosts, who are cursed beings, is to become cursed oneself. The safest method, however dreadful, is to cut off an arm of the dead, which is why the transient curse looks like a hand. But we're not actually going to do this area right now, so we don't need that. What we're going to do is just a little get in, get out. So remember I told you the homeward bones were useful? This is going to be our first example of what's so useful about them. So the homeward bone is used the same way as the Estus Flask. I press X and it pops a little message. Now before running to get this item, remember the positioning of the message when you pop it open, because it'll save it. If I do it again, it's going to be at no. If I move it over to yes and press B, do it again, it's at no. So the positioning of the menu is not always the same. Like, I've had playthroughs where I've gone to do the same trick and it started on yes, so all I had to do was press A. So remember where it's positioned, because I'm going to have to quickly open this and then move it over to yes and then press A before I get killed. So toggle to your homeward bone, and what you're going to do is you're going to run over here. The ghosts are going to start spawning immediately. Here's our first one right there. Ignore it and run this way. Make a sharp turn and go along this path. Be careful, you can fall off into the water. You're going to want to quickly run and grab this item and immediately use the homeward bone before they start attacking you. The front one there was winding up an attack as I was teleporting. So you have a small window of opportunity to teleport before you're boxed in by ghosts and you will die. But now we have a Firekeeper soul already. And so, if we upgrade it now, like, before we even have to fight anything in Lordran proper, we have better healing. Before that, let's read it real quick. Firekeeper soul. Each Firekeeper is a corporeal manifestation of her bonfire, and a draw for the humanity which is offered her. Her soul is gnawed by infinite humanity and can boost the power of precious Estus flasks. It can be used to gain humanity and restore HP at the cost of losing the Firekeeper soul to reinforce the Estus flasks. So, reinforce it, yes, and now we have an Estus flask +1, permanent upgrade to how effectively it heals us. Alright, this has been my slow play of Dark Souls 1. I hope you enjoyed episode 2. I will see you guys on part 3, where we will take a trip up that hill and get this playthrough going properly. Thanks so much for watching.